So let's continue from where we left off last time in chapter 1 of the compound effect. So the section is called the ripple effect. Okay. Ripple effect from the compound effect. The results in the above example seem dramatic, I know, but it goes even deeper than that. The reality is that even one small change can have a significant impact that causes an unexpected and unintended ripple effect. Interesting. Ripple. So the idea is that one good habit attracts more good habits, and one bad habit attracts more bad habits. I think that's what he is going to say. Let's put one of Brad's bad habits under the microscope. Eating rich food more frequently. To better understand how the compound effect can also work in the negative way and can create a ripple effect that impacts your entire life. Brad makes some muffins from a recipe he learned from the food channel. He's proud and his family loves it, and it seems to add value all around. He starts making them and other sweets frequently. He loves his own cooking and eats more than his share, but not so much that anyone notices. However, the extra food makes Brad sluggish at night. Well, I like the idea. I like how he has put this idea that he is making good food. I mean, not good for health, but it tastes good, and his family appreciates it. It makes everyone in the house happy, right? So there's nothing bad going on, but nature has its own rules, right? That the food that he makes will make him unhealthy over time. That's the idea. He loves his own cooking and eats more than his share, but not so much that anyone notices. However, the extra food makes Brad sluggish at night. He wakes up a little groggy, which makes him cranky. The crankiness and sleep deprivation begin to impact his work performance. He's less productive and as a result gets discouraging feedback from his boss. By the end of the day, he feels dissatisfied with his job and his energy level is way down. So that's the ripple effect. I see how it is working. The commute home seems longer and more stressful than ever. All of this makes him reach for more comfort food. Stress has a way of doing that. Yeah. So the idea is, well, there are so many words to say reinforcement. Actually, comfort thrives on negative feelings. That's something I have learned and experienced. When you do not feel good about your circumstances, you would reach out for these quick fixes like eating food that tastes good in the short term but is not healthy for you. But people who do not feel bad, they have no reason to indulge in activities like this. Now, Brad, unfortunately, he lacks a little bit of energy, doesn't enjoy his work that much. So, of course, when he goes home, he's gonna fill that missing piece, fill that gap in his, what should I say, in his routine life. The overall lack of energy makes Brad less likely to take walks with his wife like he used to. He just doesn't feel like it. She misses their time together and takes his withdrawal personally. Okay, so you see how things are just going in a bad spiral. But although we are reading all of his negative life story in a couple of paragraphs, but all of this will take years to take place. All of these events will take months and years. So when these events are taking place, people actually complain about circumstances, external circumstances. For example, now he's talking about that the wife will stop liking him. Yes, but it won't be just like a completely direct effect of Brad eating muffins. It will take a long time. The overall lack of energy makes Brett less likely to take walks with his wife like he used to. He just doesn't feel like it. She misses their time together and takes his withdrawal personally. With fewer shared activities with his wife and an absence of fresh air and exercise, Brad's not getting the endorphin release that had helped make him feel upbeat and enthusiastic. Because he is not as happy, he starts finding fault with himself and others and stops complimenting his wife. Complimenting. And as his own body starts to feel flabby, he feels less self confident, less attractive, and becomes less romantic. Brad doesn't realize how his lack of energy and affection toward his wife affects her. He just knows that he feels funky. He starts losing himself in late night TV because it's easy and distracting. Feeling his distance, Brad's wife starts to complain, then becomes needy. When that doesn't work, she emotionally withdraws to protect herself. She's lonely. She pours her energy into her work and spends more time with her girlfriends to fulfill her need for companionship. Men start flirting with her, which makes her feel desirable again. She would never cheat on Brad, but he has a feeling something's wrong. Instead of seeing that his poor choices and behaviors are at the root of their problem, he finds fault with his wife. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's like superficial judgment. People always want to just give simpler answers to their problems. Believing that the other person is wrong rather than looking inside and doing the work necessary to clean up your mess is basic psychology 101 stuff. Yeah, I guess, I don't know what's the funny thing, or maybe I do not know. So he's saying basic psychology 101. 101 the meaning of 101 is basic. So he's saying basic twice. Basic psychology 101 stuff. In Brad's case, he doesn't know to look inside. They don't offer they don't offer self-improvement or relationship advice on Top Chef or his favorite crime shows. Yeah, so the junk he's feeding his mind is also compounding. However, the thought may have occurred to him that if he had read the personal development books his buddy Scott read, he might have learned about ways to challenge negative habits. I really like this part. I would want to honestly reread it. So change always happens internally, right? Internal and it comes to the mind, to the habits. Brad has so many negative habits that he doesn't know what to do with his life now, and his life now is falling apart because of the result of his continued negative habits. However, the thought may have occurred to him that if he had read the personal development books his buddy Scott read, he might have learned about ways to change negative habits. Unfortunately for Brad, the small choices he makes Unfortunately for Brad, the small choices he made on a daily basis created a ripple that wreaked havoc on every area of life. Wow, so important idea, every area of his life. So, I have learned this idea, I think, from Stoicism or from other book. Wherever you go, you take your mind with you. and your mind determines your success level. If your mind is untrained and it is not disciplined and it is not competent, not skillful, you are not going to achieve anything. Every area of your life. Somebody said, how you do one thing is how you do everything. If you can't do one thing correctly, you can't do anything correctly. And it's the power of mind. Just like uh, you can take an example of an athletic, fit, healthy person, they can lift any kind of material that's heavy, right? It doesn't matter how the thing looks, it matters the weight of it. If something weighs, let's say, 50 pounds, they can lift it no matter what that object is. In the same way, if your mind is capable, you can perform any difficult mental task. It doesn't matter what that task is. Of course, of course, all that calorie counting, all that calorie counting and intellectual stimulation, he had the opposite effect with Scott, who's now reaping the bounty of positive results. In The Slight Edge, Jeff Olson, another Jim Rohn protege, describes describes this as the repeating of simple daily disciplines versus simple errors in judgment. Simple errors in judgment. Yes, I also learned this idea from Atomic Habits. It doesn't matter how much you study, how it doesn't matter how many best ways you know how to do it. Your success is determined by what you are doing on a regular basis. That's it. And I have personally experienced this in my own life as well. So I could spend hours and hours watching YouTube videos on how to play piano. I never did that. I'm just practicing piano every day for 15 and 20 minutes, and I'm seeing huge improvement, huge improvement in my piano practice. I'm not even wasting time, just practicing 15 and 20 minutes every day. So it success is not really about putting too much effort or doing too much work. It's about doing very simple, specific, and consistent work every day. So, simple errors in judgment. It's that simple. With enough time and consistency, the outcomes become visible. Better yet, they are totally predictable. Yes, Jim Rohn has said success is as predictable as rising and setting of the sun. The compound effect is predictable and measurable. That's great news. I always like to compare a human being to a tree, to a seedling. If you put a seed in a ground and take care of it, the tree is gonna the seedling is gonna spurt, and the plant will grow as big the more you take care of it. Now, a human being is a living thing, just like a small plant. If you take care of your mind and body with healthy information and healthy food, you will see result. But just like how converting a small seed into a giant tree can take years of effort, in the same way you will need to put a lot of investment, good food and good information. You will need to put over a period of time. Isn't it comforting to know you only need to take a series of tiny steps consistently over time to radically improve your life? Doesn't that sound easier than mustering up some grand show of bravery and heroic strength only to wear yourself out and have to dump it all that energy again at a later date for another try, which will likely be unsuccessful? I am exhausted just thinking about it. But that's what people do. We have been conditioned by society to believe in the effectiveness of a great display of massive effort. Heck, it's downright all American. Well, this is a very good paragraph. So, Let me paste this paragraph. The ripple effect. So what? So this is ripple. So ripple effect is a sub part of the compound effect. Not only you are getting the results of your good habits, but your good habits are attracting more good habits. And in Atomic Habits, James Clear says habits are double-edged sword. They can work for you or against you. The habit formation is always working. The psychology is always working inside your head. Whatever you do becomes easier the next time. So if you do something that's not good for you, it will become easier for the next time. So you are always creating habits subconsciously. That's the idea. But you can use this idea of subconscious mind for your advantage. The beauty, the beauty of the compound effect is in its simplicity. Notice how on the left side of the diagram the results are tangible, but how powerfully they differ later on. The behaviors all along the behaviors all along the way are exactly the same, but the magic of the compound effect eventually kicks in to bring massive differences in life. Yes, James Clear also talk about the same idea. He call it the what does he call it? The plateau of latent potential. A very fancy term. The plateau of latent potential. I think that's what he says. I can open up the book. Let me open up the book and show you what I actually mean. Yes, the plateau of latent potential. So this uh, curve is your success level, and the horizontal bar is how much work you put in. When you start putting in the work in the initial period, you will not see any results at all. People think that every day they will see the same amount of increase in their output, the same based on the work they put, but in reality, when you're putting in the work in your initial days, you will not get any result. That's just how life works. And he gave an example of what? Gave an example of melting of an ice cube. I won't go into the ice cube detail. You can read the book if you want. The focus here right now is compound effect, but I like to make connections and see how information reinforces with different books I read. So I guess this is it for this video. In the next one, we can continue talking about the idea success old school.